Hey, it's me, Martijn, and after many teases and leaks, it's finally here, the Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro. And today we have a very first look and I will share with you my very first impressions in this hands-on review. So let's get started. Both models are just launched and Xiaomi sent me a pre-production model a week ago. So no fancy retail box or anything, no unboxing, we just go right to the points that I think are very interesting and got my attention right away. The first thing is that I'm very curious why they opted for an LCD display and not an OLED, because for many that is considered a downside. Or if you really want to call it, a downgrade. Both the Mi 10T and the T Pro might have an LCD display, but they have put some thought into that. Beyond the 144Hz refresh rate, the phone is capable of adjusting to content automatically. Therefore, if you're watching a movie, the display will automatically adjust to 48Hz. For streaming video, 30 to 60Hz, and for scrolling your social feeds or gaming up to 144Hz if possible. I see two positive points over here. Number one is it guarantees a smooth experience at all times. And point two is it creates this optimum battery usage. For me, it's relatively easy to spot when the display increases or decreases the refresh rate, and it seems to work fine so far. Adaptive Sync is a software feature developed by Xiaomi themselves, and that's why they opted for an LCD display. Probably there are more technical requirements that I don't know of, but so far it makes sense to me that I didn't go for an OLED display. But it also raises the question, are you an LCD or an OLED fan? Let us know in the comments below. Still, the display looks great. It's HDR10 certified, supports the P3 color gamut and has a maximum brightness of 650 nits in certain cases. That makes the display easily readable outdoors, and from my very first impressions, there's nothing really to complain about. The second point I would like to talk about is the camera and the selfie camera. There's no more pop-up selfie camera like on the 9T, which was for privacy enthusiasts like a real heaven on earth. But moving parts is always tricky, so that's why I think Xiaomi opted again for an in-display camera. And here are some selfies, and so far they seem to look very good. And as you can see, they finally have some stabilization for the selfie camera. The most interesting part to me on point 2 is on the rear. This 108 megapixel camera that has optical image stabilization and can record in 8K. We've seen on the Xiaomi Mi 10 that recording in 8K is kind of useless if there's no stabilization. But now on the Xiaomi Mi 10T it becomes more practical. I would still rather opt for the 4K footage with the additional stabilization, but for those who are the video enthusiasts and they edit their footage in post, it's a nice extra amount of pixels to work with. And the footage on both looks to be great so far, although there is still some panning stutter for those who love to film vertical. Pictures look fine to me at a very first glance. They're bright, they're colorful, and there's a good amount of contrast. But of course I have to dig deeper into that and I will explain more in the full review. The Mi 10T series also offers some very creative features such as photo and video clones, long exposure modes, time-lapse selfies, timed burst and dual video for creative ones to get the most out of their footage. And then we have a couple of smaller points, for example, the side-mounted fingerprint scanner. So as said before, this time they mounted it on the side instead of under the display, and that's what I find kind of a downgrade. It works great, it's fast and reliable, but I can imagine that because of the adaptive display, the LCD display, it wasn't possible anymore. And in terms of performance, I don't have anything to complain. The Snapdragon processor, the Adreno 650 GPU and 8 GB of RAM are fast and smooth and didn't cause any issues so far. The Mi 10T Pro also has one of the biggest battery capacity in a Xiaomi flagship model so far, a whopping 5000 mAh battery, which so far for me lasted 2 days with my type of usage, and when I needed to juice it up, thanks to the MMT, which is also known as middle tap technology, and the included 33 wire charger, it is full within no time. This super fast wired charging can be a real lifesaver if you ask me. I've been too many times in a situation like that. But the last point that I want to talk about is NFC is included, but there is no headphone jack. Gorilla Glass 5 on the front and back, and 5G supports NSA only. The very last point is the price, because this is quite a bit higher than the introduction price of the Mi 9T. So if you currently own the Mi 9T, I don't see a reason to upgrade, but if you're coming from, for example, the Mi 8 or some sort of Redmi Note series device, then it might be an attractive option. Of course, there's so many more that we can talk and discuss about the Mi 10T Pro and the whole series basically, but for now I hope it gave you a very good first impression of this device. If you have some comments, drop them down below. I would love to help you out, and hopefully I can answer many of your questions, so when the full review comes online, you know everything. Alright, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you did so, subscribe to make my day, but also for you so you get notified whenever the full review comes online. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see all of you in the next one.